Welcome to Salem Witch Trials Daily. I'm Josh Hutchinson.
And I'm Sarah Jack. Today we're diving into one of the most intense and interconnected family sagas of the 1692 trials. We're talking about the woman, Cotton Mather, famously called a rampant hag.
Today's episode focuses on Martha Carrier, the woman dubbed the Queen in Hell, and the staggering number of her relatives who were caught up in the accusations.
Martha was born Martha Allen in the early 1650s to Andrew and Faith Allen. She married Thomas Carrier in 1674, and by about 1690, her family moved from Billerica to Andover, but they didn't exactly receive a warm welcome.
No, they didn't. Martha was quickly blamed for a smallpox outbreak that tragically killed 13 people in town. By May 28, 1692, Joseph Holton and John Walcott filed a formal complaint against her for witchcraft. They claimed she was afflicting some of the most well-known afflicted girls, including Mary Walcott, Abigail Williams, and Ann Putnam Jr.
The legal machinery moved fast. A warrant was issued the same day as the complaint. She was arrested and examined on May 31st, and by July 1st, she was indicted for afflicting Mary Walcott and Elizabeth Hubbard. It was during this period, specifically on July 21st, that Mary Lacey Jr. gave Martha that infamous title, the Queen in Hell.
Martha was tried on August 3rd and executed August 19th. But she wasn't an isolated target. To understand her case, you have to look at the Ingalls family. Martha's mother, Faith, was an Ingalls. If you look at the descendants of Edmund and Anne Ingalls, Faith's parents, at least 15 of them were accused of witchcraft, along with 2 of their spouses. And by the way, another famous descendant of Edmund and Anne Ingalls is Laura Ingalls Wilder, the author of Little House on the Prairie.
It's a massive web. Let's look at Martha's immediate circle. Her sister, Mary Ellen Toothaker, was also accused of witchcraft. Mary's husband, Roger Toothaker, was arrested and unfortunately died in jail. Their daughter, Martha Toothaker Emerson, who apparently practiced some folk magic to kill a supposed witch, was arrested and confessed. But Mary's son, Alan Toothaker, testified against his aunt, Martha.
And then there are Martha's own children. It's heartbreaking. Her sons, Andrew, Richard, and Thomas Jr., and even her young daughter, Sarah, were all arrested and confessed to witchcraft. But it took pain to break Andrew and Richard. They were bound neck and heels until the blood was ready to gush from their noses. Only then did they confess against their mother and themselves.
We also have to talk about the Dane family connection. Martha's aunt, Elizabeth Ingalls, had married Reverend Francis Dane. He was the senior minister of the Andover church and a central figure. He was Martha's uncle and the father of Elizabeth Johnson Sr. and Abigail Faulkner.
The accusations against the Danes were relentless. Elizabeth Johnson Sr. was arrested and confessed, though she was eventually found not guilty. However, her children weren't so lucky initially. Her daughter, Elizabeth Johnson Jr., was arrested, confessed, and was actually convicted and condemned before being reprieved. Elizabeth's siblings, Abigail and Stephen, were also arrested.
Even the in-laws were not safe. Deliverance Dane, who was Francis Dane's daughter-in-law, confessed, but then recanted. We also see people like Dean Robinson, the son of Phoebe Dane and grandson of Francis, being accused.
And we can't forget Elizabeth Howe, a niece of Francis Dane. Her story is very tragic. She was arrested, tried, convicted, and ultimately hanged. And her brother, John Jackson Sr., and his son, John Jackson Jr., were also arrested.
When you step back and look at it, this wasn't just an attack on an individual queen in hell. It was an absolute dismantling of an entire extended kinship network. The Allens, the Carriers, the Toothakers, the Danes, and the Johnsons.
It shows just how much guilt by association and family reputation fueled the fire in 1692. Martha Carrier stood at the center of it, but the witch trials touched almost every branch of her family tree.